So 80-10-10 simply means that your diet is focused on carbohydrates. Now, you can get complex carbohydrates, you could have simple carbohydrates. In a raw food diet, it's always simple carbohydrates, which we call sugars. They taste sweet to the tip of your tongue, whereas complex carbohydrates have no taste. The starch is tasteless. But I don't eat any starches at all. No bread, rice, pasta, corn, potatoes, oats, nothing like that. Uh, I focus on fruit for my carbohydrate source. Uh, so the 80 is the carbohydrates, and I'm looking to get more than 80% of my calories, or very close to 80. If I don't go in excess of 80, then I want to get as close to 80 as possible. I don't want to have 60% of my calories coming from carbs. I want to have 80 or more percent of my calories coming from carbs. The rest is protein and fat, and they split the difference at somewheres around 5 to 10% of calories from each. But it's easy for fat calories to increase. It's easy to get to 15 without even noticing, without even trying. And that's not a big worry. The standard Western diet, for comparison, is like 45-10-45. And that is a recipe for diabetes and cancer and heart disease and all the things people end up with. So my diet looks like it's predominated by fruit, man. I'll have fruit for breakfast, all I care for. Whatever fruit looks good. And I find for myself that I'm most satisfied eating one thing at a time. When I'm hungry till I'm full, that just works best for me, but it doesn't have to be for anybody else. But I might have lychee for breakfast, or I might have mangoes for breakfast, melon for breakfast when they're in season, or pineapple when it's really great. Whatever's looking really good, that's what's going to be for breakfast. Lately, it's been persimmon. This time of year, I'm having a lot of persimmon. For lunch, I'm either going to have persimmon or banana this time of year. But there's plenty of time. In the summer, it's going to be peaches or figs. Depends what time of summer, and throughout the year, it just keeps varying. But I would say bananas are my go-to guy for lunch most of the time. So by then, and I've had maybe 600 or 800 calories of fruit in breakfast, and I had another maybe 1,200 or 1,400 for lunch. And the fruit is so satiating, so satisfying, that I'm really not looking for snacks. And so I don't tend to ever snack. And I may not eat again until 4, 5, 6 hours after lunch, at which point I want to have more fruit. And it's almost always citrus or berries or pineapple or something that's juicy and tangy like that. Tonight was oranges. The oranges are just really getting sweet right now. So I just had a bunch of oranges, followed by a big salad. And the salad, salads, I'd say 5 nights out of a week, I'm having lettuce and tomato, maybe some berries and a few nuts or a few seeds or something like that. The other 2 nights, I'm having tomatoes and cucumber chopped up together, either with some avocado or with some seeds. Particularly fond of sesame seeds, really like those. But I don't have to have it. I could go nights without having any fats, and I'm not let down or disappointed. But I could have it every night for a couple months, and that's not a big deal either, because it's the only fat of the day. It's a very small amount of fat, and it's the only fat of the day. And it's enough fat. I kind of think of my fat consumption sort of being like shoes. I don't want them too small, and I don't want them too big. So I'm not trying to get no fat. It's not that I'm looking to avoid fat or think that fat's bad. Fat's not bad. It's got lots of great qualities and serves us in many ways in our own needs and supplying our needs. There's fat in bananas. There's fat in cherries. There's fat in every fruit. Just not much. but even there are some fattier fruits. There's the avocado and the durian, and there are some fattier fruits that are supplied. And uh, when you have the good fortune to bump into those, my favorite is Aki out of all of them, but uh, I don't run across Aki very often. So, I don't have it very often, but avocados, they're plentiful. So I like to focus on those. I find my digestion does better on avocado than it ever does on nuts or seeds, but I don't shun any of those things. I just have them once a day at the end. If I'm if I'm going to have them at all, it's going to be the end of the day.
Okay, so a couple of questions. Thank you for that. So, the one thing is, I want to get into the times you're eating because you talk about eating fat at the end of the day. So,
Hmm.
I wrote a book called The Daylight Diet.
Yes, I know.
Trying to sleep on a somewhat empty stomach, not eating so close to going to sleep. But if you
Right.
are, it might seem like if we eat the foods that digest quicker, it'd be better than the fatty foods late at night.
Absolutely.
So, if you eat the fat towards the end of the day, I want to get into the timing of what you're eating and how much spacing you put between meals and before you go to sleep. Is it consistent or is it just you eat when you're hungry?
I tend to eat when I'm hungry. Tend to eat when hungry. If I eat late, I definitely don't want any breakfast. So it's not that it's bad to not want any breakfast, but if you don't want any breakfast because you just naturally don't, that's different than I ate too much, too late, too heavy, too rich, and now in the morning I'm not hungry. All right, like you didn't get all the benefits of a good night's sleep. You're not going to wake up feeling great. You're not ready to go. Your bloodstream hasn't cleared the fats from the night before. That's a problem. So because because fat gets out of your bloodstream very slowly, but sugar gets into your bloodstream very quickly. And so you can end up with this fat sugar combination that has been proven to result in predictable health decline, depending upon what kind of health decline depends upon your genetic predisposition, but predictable health decline. So I like to avoid that. Yes, um, as I mentioned before we even started, I tend to be a late night guy. Uh, at least when I'm at home doing my work, I get up early and I work, and I stay up late and I work. And during the day, I try to be as much of a family man as I can. I love making food for my family, having some time to be with my family, uh, taking care of all the household things that daddy has to take care of things at the house, and I enjoy doing all that, but it means that I'm often up late. Now, when I'm at a retreat and my day starts by 6 o'clock, I'm teaching classes at most of my retreats. I'm not up late. I'm not up late. So how do I make that work in terms of timing? It usually means that there's going to be some food, usually around 10 or 11. I'm not generally going to eat until around 10 or 11 in the morning. I'm going to have more food around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And by 7, 6, tonight was 6:30, uh, I'm having dinner. I'm having a dinner salad. And I've already, by 7, 7:30, I'm done eating, which could be late for somebody going to bed at 8 o'clock at night, but I'm not typically going to bed for another 6 hours or 7 hours. I'm up and productive for many hours after that meal, and I'm perfectly happy. I agree with you, going to bed relatively empty, unless there are exceptions. For instance, I work with some athletes that are eating 6 and 7,000 calories a day. Some of them 8,000 calories a day, and but they're still human, and like us, have a hard time eating much more than 1,000 calories at a meal. 1,200 calories at a meal is a big meal. Um, and so for them to get all the food they need to eat more than 4 or 5 meals. And the only way to do that is to have one more meal relatively late. But that last thing is going to usually just be 4 or 5 bananas,
Sure,
just enough. Be,
sure,
um, Especially for the younger athletes that are just so active and really needing a lot. I can tell you this, and again, agreeing with your concept, that if I eat nuts late at night, I'm going to have nightmares. And I don't like nightmares. So I never do that. I just that's a rule. Don't eat heavy stuff right before going to bed. That's a bad plan.
sure. So, you and I are very familiar with food combining, and we agree that eating fats and sugars together are a no-no. It's not a wise thing. Would you agree or no?